5:30, which I'll be performing other pieces along with some other artists.
Excellent. So make sure you come out. We're going to put all the information on our Facebook page too, so that you can get your copy of Architects of Destiny by Cher Antoinette. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're taking in a slice of island life. Stay with us.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC News Break. Although Barbados registered a decline in tourists from the U.S. last year, local tourism officials are confident the numbers will rebound. The figures on arrivals from America, which is the second largest source market for the island, were provided by CEO of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, William Griffith. He says despite the general fall-off in numbers, the year ended on a positive note.
Overall, we closed the year with 118,659,000 U.S. arrivals, which represents a 2% decline year on year. It is important to note that in December, however, we registered record arrivals out of the USA when compared against 2013. This was the third highest number of December U.S. arrivals on record in 14 years.
General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Tony Moore, says today's leaders must, by their actions, help instill best practices into tomorrow's leaders. Ms. Moore made the comment at one of the events in celebration of this year's Week of Excellence and in keeping with the theme of the week, Bridging the Gap, Tomorrow's Leaders, Tomorrow's Prospects.
As we discuss the leadership bridge, we may examine the environment that facilitates leadership development. But I urge us to commit to bridging the gap between talk and action, and to delivering a sustainable platform for tomorrow's leaders. Let us, by example, commit to shaping young leaders, delivering a people-centered Barbados, which recognizes that while there are leaders and those who are led, leadership is less of who we are and more of what we do.
Meanwhile, in delivering remarks at the same event, Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Anne Reid, says today's leaders must be able to set high standards for tomorrow's leaders to follow.
If we are to be able to hand over excellence, we have to model excellence. Be deliberate. Tomorrow's prospects have a whole different orientation from our today's leaders. Yes, there is a gap between today's leaders and tomorrow's prospects. As leaders, we have to be deliberate that we are going to bridge the gap and hand over excellence. And to do this, we have to be committed to relearning, to retooling, and to rethinking all that is required to accomplish this task.
Outstanding academic Sir Arthur Lewis would be intrigued by the socio-economic developments in the region today if he were alive. This from Dr. Don Marshall, the acting director of the research unit at the Cave Hill campus of the University of the West Indies that bears Sir Arthur's name. Dr. Marshall was speaking to CBC News ahead of a lecture as celebrations continue on the campus to mark the 100th anniversary of Sir Arthur's birth.
He would feel that it's a good reason to perhaps return to Keynesian ideas, a good reason to return to notions of growth with equity, addressing unemployment. As you know, today's global capitalism marked by, considering the age of electronics, is one where we are seeing in many developed countries the specter of growth without employment of living labor. I mean, it's more by way of robotics and so on. It's creating all kinds of paradoxes.
Dr. Marshall says Sir Arthur would also be saddened by the sclerosis of growth in the region, as it has been described by the Caribbean Development Bank.
We are challenged to consolidate our fiscal debt and at the same time grow economies, and there's no straightforward way of doing that, and so you end up with a false debate about austerity versus stimulus and so on. I think he will be anxious to get to work on it, but still disappointed that after 40, 50 years of independence, we have not gone past a limited diversification.
Tomorrow's lecture will be delivered by Dr. Diane Hoffman, a professor at Virginia University. Her topic is What Out-of-School Youth in Haiti Teach Us About Developmental Policies. It begins at 7:30 at the Errol Barrow Center for Creative Imagination. A Canadian academic is suggesting that the notion that education is the great social equalizer is not true. That's the conclusion of Professor of Higher Education at the Ontario Institute for Studies on Education at the University of Ontario of Toronto, that is, Glenn Jones.
A lot of the push for the expansion of higher education in the 60s and 70s was based on the assumption that if we simply had more students educated, that there would be greater social equity. And I think what we've learned is that higher education systems often restructure things, but they often maintain the status quo, and they maintain social equities. And in certain parts of the world, the United States is a wonderful example. You have tremendous levels of participation in higher education, but huge increases in the differences between rich and poor. So higher education is many things, but we can't assume it's a great social equalizer.
Professor Jones shared the view while speaking to the media on the sidelines of a seminar on changes in the academic profession. He says an analysis of studies done in 19 countries has revealed that there are tremendous differences in how academic work is structured and organized in various countries.
The fact that there's been so many reforms in different parts of the world, that there's been tremendous expansion, and so it raises the question of what are the implications for the professors who we think are the cornerstones of higher education and the professoriate. I provided a bit of an analysis of some comparative data. We've done studies in 19 different countries, and what it really shows is the tremendous differences from country to country in terms of how academic work is structured and organized, job satisfaction, and the levels of productivity from country to country.
The owner of Nature Foods on Cheapside in the city says she does not regret her investment in Barbados. Dora Song says she opened her restaurant and adjoining hotel and restaurant supplying business in 1997 when she moved from Singapore. Ms. Song says the business has had its ups and downs.
I can't complain. I managed to survive all these years. Well, I must say through hard work and of course with the cooperation of all my staff. I have got a very good team. I train them and they understand my culture, my work ethics that I expect from them, and we work very well.
Ms. Song was speaking to CBC News during celebrations at her restaurant to ring in the Chinese New Year. She celebrated the occasion with her staff and several clients. Ms. Song said Chinese celebrate with lots of food and they love to share their culture with a special dish of prosperity.
There is this special dish that we Chinese use and usher in, or that I would say is the start of the dinner or the meal. Is the start of it, where we feature what do you call every dish on New Year's Day has a meaning. Every little ingredient has a meaning and put together as a prosperity dish. You know, Chinese is all about good luck, prosperity, good health, happiness, that kind of thing.
Well, there was a heavier than normal police presence in the yard of the District A Magistrates Court yesterday as 7 young men, 2 of them accused of murder, appeared before magistrate. 23-year-old Nicholas Shorey of Paris Gap Westbury Road and 22-year-old Romario Phillips of 10th Avenue, New Orleans were not required to plead to the indictable offense. They're accused of last December's murder of Albert Bino. Phillips is also accused, along with 28-year-old Marvin Marcus Victor of 4th Avenue, Pickwick Gap, 22-year-old Akeem Jabari Leon of 3rd Avenue, Manningsland, and 34-year-old Damian Francisco Padmore of No. 2 Skeets Road, the Ivy, of conspiring to endanger life on December 7th last year at the Ivy St. Michael. Additionally, Phillips is charged with unlawful use of a firearm and criminal damage, while Victor is accused of unlawful possession of a firearm. The 2 are also jointly charged with 2 counts of unlawful possession of a firearm. Meantime, Nicholas Shorey and 23-year-old Rakino Shamek Barker of Pickwick Gap are both facing firearm possession charges. The men were all remanded until March 20th. Jamaica's parliament legalizes small amounts of marijuana. That story and more after this break.